Hello students, warm greetings to all. Now I am going forward to bring some remarkable things back into your memory about what I taught you the other day. In our previous class, what did we get to see is that the criminal who was kept inside the prison for long had spent living his life for many days, several months, and a year too. Meanwhile, the kinglet of Monaco thought of looking over the income and expenditure of the criminal. When the prince took a glance over the income and expenditure, noticed a new item of expenditure in it that came more than 600 francs a year. That's why the kinglet of Monaco didn't want to invest such a money in keeping the criminal inside the prison. At the same time, one of the minister came forward to consider this matter. It took into a serious turn. So, the kinglet of Monaco again summoned his ministers to consider this issue. He enforced his ministers to find some cheaper ways in dealing with the criminal. This is what he said to his ministers, saying that you must find some ways, some cheaper ways in punishing the criminal. So, all the ministers again came together, gathered at a place, and considered and reconsidered the matter very thoroughly. One of the ministers came forward and addressed the gathering of ministers, saying that, gentlemen, in my opinion, we must dismiss the God. It would be the best thing that we need to do. Later, this first speaker was joined by the second speaker. What he said to his ministers is that we must let the criminal to go out of the prison, which means let him run away out of the prison. After having advised by those two ministers, all the ministers agreed with these two statements, and after having much deliberations among themselves, they reported as the same as it came out to the Prince of Monaco. They submitted their report to the Prince of Monaco. Upon receiving the report by the ministers, the kinglet of Monaco agreed what was written in the report. As directed by the suggestions made by the ministers, the God was dismissed. Now all the ministers were eagerly waiting for the criminal. What would he do next after finding no God at all? All the ministers waited what would happen next. As they were very curious what All that happened is that at a certain time of dinner, the criminal came out of his prison and finding no guard at all at his designated place, he made his way forward towards the kitchen where his food was prepared for him. After going into the kitchen, he took his food, what was prepared for him, came back to his prison and shut the door on himself and remained there inside the prison. In the following day too, which means the very next day, the same thing that appeared or occurred. As he produced the same actions in the following days too, the criminal exhibited his same actions. Hence, again the question that arose in the minds of the criminals, in the minds of the ministers, what was to be done? So, the kinglet of Monaco again summoned his ministers to consider the matter very deeply. And one of the ministers wanted to tell him straight out with the intention of having this in his mind. The minister of justice called the criminal before him and asked him a question: why didn't he go out of the prison even after finding no guard at all to keep watching him? This is the point where I stopped teaching you people in our previous class. Let us make a move from here onwards. What do we see? Here is it. I dare say the prince wouldn't mind, replied the man. I told you people earlier that the criminal was asked a question by the Minister of Justice. That is, why didn't he run or escape out of the prison? In response to this question, the criminal replied to the Minister of Justice saying that I dare say this statement can be used when a person is sure that the next statement that is made by him can be what we call obvious, which means something would happen, something might be true. That's what we call, that is the point when we can use this I dare say. He dare say that even the Prince of Monaco wouldn't mind, even if he escapes from the prison. He knows very well this fact. Not only the Minister of Justice knows this fact, even this criminal is aware of the fact that even the Prince of Monaco wouldn't mind, even he runs out of the prison. The Prince of that Monaco certainly doesn't concern about this matter. He is very well aware of this fact. But I have nowhere to go. And later he puts a condition over here. The reason why he hesitates to go out of the prison is that he finds no place to go. In the following sentences, he gives us a reason why he is reluctant to go out of the prison is that he finds no place at all surrounding Monaco Kingdom where he can get the job, where he can live his life comfortably as he did earlier. What can I do? He asks a question to the Minister of Justice that what can he do? After finding no place at all surrounding Monaco Kingdom, what can he do? Certainly, a person can't do. Not only a criminal, even a person can't do anything when he finds no place at all to get the job or to get survived in this world. At this moment, he can't do anything. Later, the criminal goes on giving the Minister of Justice more reasons why doesn't he go out of the prison. He keeps telling him that you have ruined my character by your sentence. Earlier, in the initial part of this chapter, we came to know that as the criminal committed a murder in this peaceable toy kingdom, he was given a punishment that was execution, which means he was sentenced to a death until he dies. Until the moment when he dies, he should be executed, which means he should be, in a sense, he should be killed using the guillotine machine. What he says is that all the ministers, including the kinglet of Monaco, ruined or destroyed his character after giving him a death punishment. And the people will turn their backs on me. The people, one who reside at a certain place, would start speaking on the criminal. One who commits a mistake like this criminal. The people would go on talking to themselves about the character of the criminal. This is how all the ministers have destroyed the character of the criminal after giving him a death punishment. And knowing this, the people wouldn't sit calmly. They would go on speaking on this criminal's affair. Besides, I have got out of the way of working. Already in our previous paragraph, we have come to know that by being imprisoned in the prison, the criminal was served food from the God. He was given the essential things by the God. So, he left finding the job, he left working. After having a food, sufficient food inside the prison, he couldn't do anything. Why? Because he was satisfied after having a food. That's why he gave up everything, he gave up working. You have treated me very badly. And further, he tells the Minister of Justice that, and all of them, all the ministers, have handled or regarded this criminal in a very bad manner. It is not fair. It seems not to be good. The way how they have treated the criminal is not a good one. It is totally an unfair. In an injustice manner, all of the ministers have treated him very badly. In the first place, when once you sentenced me to a death, you ought to have executed me. He keeps on saying to the Minister of Justice that in the first place, when all the ministers gave a verdict to a death sentence to the criminal, they should have executed him. Instead of killing him after finding no guillotine and an executioner, they appointed a guard over him to keep watching him. When all the ministers gave him a death punishment, all of them should have executed or killed him. Instead of doing this, they did a different thing which troubled the criminal a lot. But you didn't do it. And here he says that instead of killing the criminal, they did a different thing. As I told you people earlier, they didn't do the work of killing criminal. That is one thing. It is of his opinion that what makes our criminal not to go away from the prison is that when all the ministers and the Prince of Monaco gave up the idea of killing the criminal using the guillotine machine and an executioner, it played a vital role. It has played a vital role in not escaping from out of the prison. I didn't complain about it, and so far I didn't even complain about it. Why didn't they do it? Why didn't they execute their plan? Which means, why didn't they kill him? Then you sentenced me to imprisonment for life. Again, what all the ministers did to the criminal is that they give him a punishment, that is imprisonment for life. Until he dies, he should be inside the prison. He should be kept inside the prison. This is how all the ministers keep changing their decisions and put a guard to bring me my food. When the criminal is put inside the prison, a guard was placed over him to bring his food from the palace kitchen. It was obvious earlier that a guard was appointed by the ministers to bring the criminals food from the palace's kitchen. But after a time, you took him away again. when the Prince of Monaco and the ministers thought of not getting executed or imprisoned this criminal for long, when they decided to let him to go outside of this prison, the ministers removed the god out of his position. After a time, after several days, already we came to know that it was all about a year. After a year, all the ministers removed the god out of his position, and this condition necessitates or propels the criminal to bring his own food. So I had to fetch my own food. After finding no god at all in his position, the criminal had to bring his own food from the palace kitchen. It was obvious that the god was the man who was appointed to bring the criminal's food from the kitchen. But when he was removed out of his profession, the criminal had to make his way towards the palace kitchen to bring his own food. Again, I didn't comply. And even after coming to know this, he didn't even complain about it. But now you actually want me to go away. After happening all these things, now all of you want me to go out of the prison. I can't agree to that. He is not in a position to go out of the prison. And so far, he has given us all the reason. He has given the Minister of Justice all the reason why he doesn't go out of the prison. He finds no place at all. He has left working. The people would speak on him after coming to know that he is a murderer. So, he is not in a position to agree with the decision made by all the ministers. So, he can't agree with that. You may do as you like, but I won't go away. You may do some things as you please, as you are happy, as you feels happy. You may do many things what comes to your mind and put them into action, but I will not go away. He is sure that he will not go away out of the prison. This is why the criminal is reluctant to go out of the prison. Let us make a move on to another slide. Again, the question that arose in the minds of the ministers, what was to be done? Throughout this story, this question that gets emerged in the minds of the ministers. Again, the same question that emerges in the minds of the ministers. What was to be done? Once more the council was summoned. As usual, the kinglet of Monaco summoned the council to have deliberation over this matter, to deal with the criminal. What course could they adopt? What course? Course in a sense, what kind of action? That's what we call course, action. What kind of actions could all the ministers adopt or follow to bring an end to this matter? ministers feel tired in making decisions. So, a question that rises in the mind, that what actions, what sorts of or kinds of actions could all the ministers follow or choose to deal with the criminal? The man wouldn't go. Why this question gets emerged is that the man is still inside the prison. He is not ready to go out of the prison. As we have witnessed so far, the reasons given by the criminal, he will not go away out of the prison. After being called by the Prince of Monaco, all the ministers reflected the matter, which means all the ministers think over it again very deeply or thoroughly. They get themselves into the matter. They have drowned themselves into the matter and considered it. They have taken this matter into their consideration very seriously again. The only way to get rid of him was to offer him a pension. And finally, all the ministers have concluded with the intention of putting this matter at the end. They have decided that they have found that there is only a way which can get rid of him which could get rid of him was to offer him a pension, which means all of them, all the ministers have found that only to remove this criminal out of the prison, there is only a way left, that is offering him a pension. We have to offer him or provide him a pension. Pension, in a sense, it is a regular payment to a person. Regularly, a payment is to be paid to this criminal. This was discovered by all the ministers when they were called by the Prince of Monaco. At this time, they found a way to get rid of him or remove him from the prison is that offering him a pension. A regular payment is to be paid to him. And so they reported to the prince. After having deliberations among themselves, they reported as the same as it appeared to be before them. As it came before them, all of them submitted the report before the Prince of Monaco. On receiving the report by the ministers, the Kinglet of Monaco says, "There is nothing else for it," said they. "We must get rid of him somehow." After giving a report onto the hands of Prince, all the ministers said him that there is nothing left. Instead, this way, to punish the criminal or to deal with the criminal, there is nothing left. We have no ways left in dealing with the criminal. This is the only way that we are with. There is nothing left to find a solution in dealing with the criminal. All the ministers said before the Prince of Monaco, "We must get rid of him somehow." As we have come to know that what they discover earlier is that they must remove him, they must allow him to go, they must allow him to go out of the prison by offering a pension. This is how they have advised the kinglet of Monaco. Finally, the sum fixed was 600 francs. The sum, which means the amount, was fixed. That was around 600 francs. Sum in a sense total, or we can say amount. Amount was fixed. That was 600 francs a year. This was announced to the prisoner. After having decided to give him in the form of a pension of 600 francs to the criminal, an announcement was made to the prisoner to give him 600 francs. And here, at the concluding part of the story of the studio, what we see is that, well, said he, on listening to the words of the decision of the ministers to give him 600 francs in the form of a pension to the criminal, he replied to all the ministers by saying that, well, it's a good thing, it seems to be good, which means now he puts himself in a position where he can accept to receive 600 francs a year. I don't mind, until as long as you undertake to pay it regularly. He wouldn't mind until the moment, until he receives the money in the form of a pension. Until that moment, he wouldn't mind. As long as all the ministers attempt or accept to pay the money of 600 francs a year regularly to the criminal, on that condition, I am willing to go. By putting this condition before all the ministers, he is ready to go out of the prison. He would like to go out of the prison on this condition until the moment when he receives the amount. Until that moment, he wouldn't mind. So the matter was settled, and finally all the ministers agreed to this matter, including the Prince of Monaco. So the matter was settled. Focusing on this matter with an intention to put an end to this matter, they wanted to conclude this matter. So all the arrangements were made. A matter was settled. He received 1/3 of his annuity in advance, as it was decided earlier to give him 600 francs a year. 1/3 of his annuity in advance was received by the criminal. It is an income. The meaning that is associated with this annuity is that it is an income from the capital investment paid in a series of regular payments. Regularly, in a series of payments, a criminal is to be paid. That's what we call annuity. Till the completion of the year, he is to be given a payment. So the criminal received one third of 600 francs in advance. Before the expected time, it took 200 francs and left the king's dominions. Dominions means it's a territory which is ruled by a king. And here, on receiving 200 francs by the ministers and the Prince of Monaco, the criminal took his departure out of the dominion or territory. He made his way out of the territory where he remained inside the prison. And now, taking one third of his annuity, he took his departure from this territory. Where had he gone? Is it? It was a place a quarter of an hour by rail. If a journey is done by a rail, it will take only 15 minutes. It's what we call a quarter. The place where the criminal had gone to live his life after taking his departure from the Kingdom of Monaco, he made his journey towards a place where it could take only 15 minutes by rail. And to that place he emigrated, which means he takes his living from his country of residence to a new country. That's what we call immigration. That's what we call immigrated. He left his own country of Kingdom of Monaco towards a new country. That's what we call immigrated. He immigrated and settled just across the frontier. It is a frontier in the sense it is a line or boundary which joins the two country. That's what we call an international boundary or a line. He settled his life just across the frontier of or boundary of Kingdom of Monaco. Just after the boundary of Kingdom of Monaco, he found his place. He found his shelter over there. And where he bought a bit of land. After going to that of a place, he purchased a bit of land there to cultivate a land to survive his life in that place. He purchased a small piece of land to cultivate it, and there he started market gardening. And he began market gardening where he can grow many plants in it, and now lives comfortably. After being a part of this region, he lives his life very comfortably. Then he led it ever before. Now he is in a position to live his life very comfortably or happily. He always goes at a proper time to draw his pension. And again, he comes back to his Kingdom of Monaco to draw his pension, which was around 600 francs per year. He goes to the kingdom of Monaco at a certain or proper time to take his 600 francs of pension. Having received it, he goes to a gaming tables. Upon receiving the money that is offered to him, he uses to go to the gaming tables where people play roulette game. Stakes 2 or 3 francs. And what he does there is that he risks the money that he has in his hand, which means he bets. He bets his money that he has in his mind. That's what we call stakes. The money of 2 or 3 francs has been risked by this criminal after coming into the gaming table. Sometimes he wins and sometimes loses. As it is a gambling game, it is made obvious earlier that some people would sometimes win and sometimes lose. As it is usual, this criminal, as he goes into the Monaco kingdom to play a gaming or roulette game, sometimes he wins the game and sometimes he loses and then returns home. After playing a roulette game in the kingdom of Monaco, he comes back to his home. He lives peaceably and well. After coming back to his place where he settles his life, he lives very peaceably and very well. It's a good thing that he didn't commit his crime in a country where they do not grudge expense to cut a man's head off. Grudge, which means accept unwillingly. It's a good thing. Here, we are made to know that it becomes a good thing to the criminal that he didn't commit a crime in a country where the authorities or the ministers or the king do not grudge expense to cut a man's head off. Where they do not grudge, which means where the ministers or prince of any kingdom do not accept unwillingly, which means where it is a place where the prince of that territory accepts to invest the money to punish the criminal. In that region, he didn't commit a murder. So he was very fortunate. Why? Because is that he didn't commit such a crime in a kingdom where the king can invest money. But this kingdom of Monaco, the kinglet and the ministers weren't ready to invest money as they thought that it would cost too much to them, or to keep him in prison for life. And he didn't commit a murder in a place where the king or ministers would keep him in prison for life, throughout his life. In such regions, he didn't commit his crime. So he was very fortunate one. Adapted from an episode in Guy de Maupassant's work Sir Leo in French, It was earlier written in the language of French. It was adapted in the sense it was made into suitable or adjusted from an episode in Guy de Maupassant's work Sir Leo in French. And earlier, this studio was part of Guy de Maupassant's literary work entitled Sir Leo, which was written in the French language that was adopted, and later it got a translation into English language and titled it as A Flot, and translated from Russian by Louis Maud and Elmer Maud. And again, it was translated from Russian writers by Russian writers called them Louis Maud and Elmer Maud. This is what do we see throughout the story of this studio. I thank you all for listening to me all through the way. Thank you.